Okay, so there are three factors to every holding call that we look for. And the first one is material restriction. This one is the most intuitive. In order to have a holding call, there's got to be some kind of holding, right? So the first category of material restriction that we have is going to be called a grab and restrict. This is where the offensive player has just decided to grab the defender and he's not going to let him go. The defender's not able to disengage. He's not able to get his feet back underneath him and go ahead and flow to the ball. He's having a really hard time because he's being fouled. And this is one type of holding here. So grab and restrict, it's the most common we see. And it's one that I want to make sure that we don't pass over because it's kind of obvious to say, hey, yeah, holding is grabbing and restricting, but it's the most common one we see. There are a couple other categories we're going to hit right now, but I want you to take note of this one because it's the one that we're going to be using the most. And when a coach asks you what a player did when you call holding on their sideline and the coach comes up to you, you can use these words. Say, hey, coach, it was a grab and restrict. He wouldn't let him go. So if we all use these words and use the same terminology, it's going to really help us with our credibility as a crew after we've all kind of started using these terms. Here's a quick picture of what a grab and restrict might look like there. All right, our second category is a grab and a twist. Really similar to the grab and restrict, but the upper body is going to get completely twisted out of alignment with the lower body. So here's kind of a grainy picture of it there, but it's pretty obvious when you see, we don't see a whole lot of grab and twist holding calls, but if you do see one, this is what it looks like right here. Just really, as it sounds like, characterized by that whole body turning away from the lower body. Not a natural move for a defender. You don't often see guys pursuing the quarterback, just running like this without being held. So it looks very unnatural and it is a foul. Last one is the most severe one, the takedown. We don't see it as often, but when we do see it, we got to get it. The most severe holding, it's when the offensive players decided he's beat and he doesn't want to be. He's just going to take the foul and he's going to drag this defender to the ground. So we see this, let's make sure we get it. When we tell a coach, hey, it was a takedown, the coach's reaction should always be, oh, okay, gotcha. I understand. If we keep using these terms over and over again, these coaches are really going to start to understand that when we tell them there was a takedown, they're going to be able to go see it on film. So I find that when I use this term with coaches, I get a lot less pushback on holding calls, but you got to make sure when they go back on film that it was really a takedown. So that way we can preserve our credibility. Okay, the next factor after material restriction, you're deciding if you've got a holding call or not. The next thing we have to take into account is, was it at the point of attack? So I've drawn up a little diagram for us here to show you how close a defender has to be to the ball carrier in order to be considered at the point of attack. So if you look at this diagram here, the red route is going to be where the ball carrier is running. We're just going to look at this play as a lead. The quarterback's going to hand it off right there. And the first defender that's going to be at our point of attack is going to be the defensive end, the guy that's on the tackle right there. So at the same time, the guard is going to be considered at the point of attack, and he is going to have a strict level of scrutiny. If either of these guys are holding as this ball carrier is coming through, that's going to be considered at the point of attack. And right after the ball carrier breaks past the line of scrimmage, this fullback leading on the linebacker is also going to be considered at the point of attack. So if any of these players right here have material restriction, that could be considered holding once we go and we check for our third factor. But these three players are going to be considered at the point of attack. So if you have material restriction on the corner out here, he's not at the point of attack. If you've got material restriction on the nose guard, not at the point of attack. And our final factor, was there an advantage or disadvantage gained? So what disadvantage was created by the action? That's the question you should ask yourself. And the whole reason that we have this factor is we want to avoid throwing holding fouls on players where the outcome of the play is not affected by the foul at all. So you could imagine a scenario where We have material restriction on a defensive end as the ball carrier is going through the hole, just like the diagram I drew up last. We got material restriction on the defensive end. He's at the point of attack. Now, the material restriction ends up being a grab and a twist, and the tackle ends up twisting the defender right into the ball carrier where the tackle is made, right where it probably would have been made anyways if there wasn't a foul for holding. That is a play that we're going to want to let go because there was no effect on the play. There was no advantage, disadvantage gained, nothing like that. Same as if you could imagine a scrimmage kick where the punter shanks it off to the visitor's sideline. We don't want to see a flag for holding on the gunner on the home sideline. There may have been material restriction. It definitely was not at the point of attack, and there was definitely no disadvantage or advantage gained there at all. So those are the types of fouls we want to leave alone. I'm going to have a couple video examples of advantage, disadvantage, and point of attack for you guys. So let's go take a look at those. I'm going to switch which screen I'm sharing. And this is a huddle playlist I created. You guys can go back and see this whenever you want. Let's jump into full screen here. We'll start it from the beginning. All right, this is the matchup we're going to be looking at. Right away, grab and a twist. You can see how the jersey is being pulled by the defender or by the offensive player, and you can see his upper body is completely out of line with where his upper body is. The material restriction continues as the runner approaches, and the action is now clearly at the point of attack. So now we have two of our three factors satisfied. We've got material restriction, and it's at the point of attack. Let's see if there's an advantage or disadvantage gained here. All right, the defender loses his step, and there's a clear advantage. The ball carrier is able to get to the outside, and he is off and running. You can see he goes on for a sizable gain. So there's a clear impact on the play here. It's clearly at the point of attack, and there was material restriction. So we'd want to see a foul for holding on this play. All right, number 22 is the matchup we're going to be looking at here. All right, so right away, we've got material restriction, right? The receiving team player grabs the kicking team player and turns him and just throws him. If he had hit the ground, it would have been a takedown, but we have clear material restriction here. It's also at the point of attack. You can see the ball carrier. This defender is going to be the closest one to the ball carrier. So we're going to, and he could have made a play there had he not been fouled. So we're going to consider this at the point of attack. Okay, did anyone take note on where the holding happened and where the ball carrier was tackled? We can go back and take a look. Take a look at what yard line that the action's on there. And now watch where the play is made. So he ends up being tackled beyond or behind where the foul even occurred. And it doesn't look like to me that that number 22 player would have gone on to make the tackle much deeper than where the ball carrier was tackled anyways. So we don't satisfy the third criteria here. We had the material restriction, we had the point of attack, but since that ball carrier ends up going back and retreating and then getting tackled way farther back than he would have been anyways, had that player not been fouled, there's no advantage gained. There's no effect on the play. This is a good one to let go. Officials that are less experienced may immediately throw the flag here when they see this, but it takes the veteran official to see that, know that they have a foul, but hold on to the flag to see if that third criteria is met. And then if that runner ends up breaking out for a big gain, we can then throw the flag and say, yeah, we have a foul there. There's a clear advantage gained. But since there was no advantage here, this is a good one to leave in our pocket. We can go with a no call here. All right, there's the matchup we are going to be looking at. Okay, so this ends up being a takedown. Now we have material restriction, and the question is was this at the point of attack? And I'm going to be honest, it's close. But this video doesn't do a great job of showing us the depth perception, how far laterally the ball carrier was from this action. And he's several yards, you can see here, it's several yards behind the ball carrier. Ball carrier's here, the action's here. But we also have several yards laterally between the two. This is not going to be considered at the point of attack. So this is one that even though it's a takedown, and even though it's very close to being at the point of attack, the crew went with no call here, and I think that would be supported. This is a good no call, even though it is close. All right, thanks guys for watching. Hope you got something out of this. Have a good one.